Hi, everybody. George Chamberlain here, executive editor for the Daily Transcript. Just finished up another roundtable, our economic outlook roundtable for the end of 2011 on into 2012. Very lively conversation. And again, one of the rare opportunities where we get to bring you into the roundtable. We recorded the entire conversation with six professionals dealing with the world of economics, and a very lively conversation indeed. You can check that out. It'll be available on the website for you to view. One of the people who participated in it, and we're always glad to have him with us on any discussion, is Nevin. Alan is a gentleman that's well known around the San Diego community for his research work that he's done, particularly in the area of real estate and other issues, and is now part of the London Advisory Group. Alan, always good to see you.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the new position. It puts you together with another gentleman that you have had many a lively conversation with, and it's good to see the two of you working together.
Thank you. I'm having a good time.
That's great. That's great. Real quick, your takeaway. You and I have talked many, many times, so we can be honest with each other. I found it to be an extremely negative group of people that were, not negative, but people that are just worried about the direction of where we're going right now.
However, a very bright group of people.
Oh, man, and how?
And, I have to look at San Diego set aside from the rest of the country. And we're one of about a dozen metropolitan areas that are doing, I think, very, very well. Washington, of course, is doing exceptionally well. But there are other metropolitan areas that they certainly didn't opt out of the recession, but really are recovering very nicely, like Dallas and Houston and Austin. But San Diego is one of this small group that is really on the road to recovery.
How much of that is the result of our relationship with the military?
Well, a big part of it is because we have been getting, the last 3 years, 10% of the entire military construction budget in the nation, which is somewhat amazing.
Wow.
So that is a big part of it. And the fact that we are highly diversified into 7 industries, and all 7 are on a growth path.
Yeah. I want to touch on a few of those in just a minute. Let's talk about the employment situation in here. I've heard you many times discuss your read on what the employment situation really is in San Diego County. We're told, obviously, it's a tough market out there, and if you don't have a job, it is a tough market out there. But there are a lot of factors that aren't calculated into the general number that we get. So take us through that.
Well, to begin with, the unemployment rate here is calculated by 370 phone calls a month out of 1.3 million housing units.
And where do those calls go?
They go to only people who have hardline phones. So they miss about 30% of the population, virtually everybody who's under age 30.
Yeah.
They also don't include any of the Hispanics who come across every day and have jobs.
What's that number approximately?
It's about 30,000. And then, of course, it doesn't include the military. So we're in pretty good shape. The other factor that rarely gets any play here is the 1099ers. California has an abnormally high percentage of folks who are self-employed compared to, say, in the Midwest or the mountain states. And they are earning incomes, and they don't quite really show, because if you say, are you employed? And if you happen to be self-employed as a 1099er, it's a different category. That's
a great point, too. That's one, and you're right. You just take a look around. And maybe these were people that were employed, per se, working for a big technology company, a big defense company or whatever, and for one reason no longer are, and are now they've got great skills, great talents, great knowledge, and they're putting it to work.
Yeah, because the consulting positions are open, since a lot of the companies are not hiring full-time, they bring in consultants.
Sure, absolutely. So I find that very encouraging, and I often repeat your read on the employment situation here, as I do your opinion on real estate. So let's kind of segue over there for a little bit and talk about that, and then we'll come back to some other industries real quick. It's a tough go out there. I mean, a lot of people are living in a home that is not worth what they paid for it, and it's a challenging time. But this too will change. What will make it change, Alan?
Well, we have to start out with the knowledge that 30% of all the homeowners in this county have no mortgage.
Have no mortgage.
So they're not underwater.
No.
They don't care. There's another large group that has a very small mortgage, never took out a second, and they're just fine. So we have misguided statistics, if you will, and that we're in really pretty good shape. And yes, there are a lot of people who are underwater, and that's not going to change for a long time, because our home values will not increase, meaning in a meaningful manner for it could be 7 to 10 years.
They say all real estate is local, and we have obviously some segments in this county that have been hit very, very hard, and others that have weathered the storm a bit better.
It's almost a zip code problem. There are some zip codes that ignored the recession, and others that were devastated by it. Generally, the tertiary geographic areas have been hit the hardest. The ones that have been hit the very least are those that have high school districts with very high SAT scores.
Very interesting. Very interesting. All right, let's talk about the real estate situation in the not too distant future. When things start getting better, and we are going to continue to see, as you talked during the roundtable, the population going to continue to grow, but the inventory of homes will not. How big a problem is that going to be?
Well, if you believe Sandag that we're going to continue to grow by 30-some thousand people a year, we're going to need more than 10,000 new housing units a year. And of course, we've been muddling down in the 2,000, 3,000 range for a few years now, which means that we're going to have a housing shortage. And incidentally, we see that because our rental single-family market vacancy rate is below 1%, and our rental apartment vacancy rate is nearing 5%. And that generally means that you're going to be in line for rent increases, which automatically means people start looking for a house.
Share with the people watching this a statistic that I heard you first introduce at a meeting of an advisory council over at the University of San Diego about the imbalance between people who have moved back in with their parents and what's going to be available when they start moving out.
Yeah, there are about 50,000 folks 25 to 34 years old who have moved back with mommy and daddy. And in the entire county, there are only 15,000 vacant units. And as those people start getting jobs, the first thing they're going to do is move out of their folks' house.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a housing crisis.
Yeah. Yeah. So the unknown, I guess, is when all of these ducks start to get in a row again. But it will happen. It's just a matter of when, right?
Exactly. And that phenomenon will start over the next year or two or three, but it won't have a major increase on housing prices for several years.
Quick comment, one more comment on real estate. There's been a plan afoot to come up with some type of a interest rate reduction for people who are upside down in their homes but have been consistently making their payments diligently and have not been eligible for any of the modification programs that have been available. And now we're saying, well, we're not going to modify your loan as far as reducing the principal, but we may be able to lower the interest rate. What impact would that have?
Oh, it would have a marvelous impact, and I'm all for that. But the reality is that it can happen because so many of the loans are concentrated within Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and FHA. So if the feds want that to happen, it can happen pretty fast.
Yeah, that would be very, very interesting. Real quick, some other comments about what's going on. We're recording this on the 20th of October here. Yesterday, a company in San Diego did something very dramatic. They launched a satellite into space from Russia, from the Cosmodrome, okay? This is exciting. This is the kind of stuff that people may not realize about the great diversified economy we have here in San Diego.
Yeah. First of all, we are the international home of the drone.
That's right.
And that is just starting to ramp up. So, and plus our biotech, when you start seeing these big international firms buying our smaller firms, that's good news for San Diego. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And another big one happened this week, as a matter of fact, with about $300 million. You reported it.
Sure.
So that's
sure.
Very, very positive.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Think how much better we are now, Alan, as a community, as an economic community, than we were in the early 1990s when General Dynamics pulled out, moved away, Convair folded up. That was devastating because it wiped out pretty much one of the only driving sources in the economy then.
Right, and now we're in infinitely better condition.
Yeah. Very much so. Always good to talk with you. I love your enthusiasm, and I guess that's probably because I agree with you most of the things you say. Always nice to talk with you. Alan Nevin joining us for this conversation. Again, check out the video of the roundtable that Alan was involved with. I think you'll find it very informative and thought-provoking. Thanks.